uncertain time. Threats and challenges we face today are novel and transnational. Working in silos won't help. Multilateral cooperation amongst nations, which I call maritime togetherness, will ensure a fortified maritime front. This, I think, is how we can keep seas secure, and this would be the path we have to take.
Auzubillahiminashaitanirajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Achra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim to you, and today is 8th of September and we celebrate it as a Yom-e Behriya because back in 1965 our air, our land and our seas witnessed some unprecedented saga of heroism, the tales of valor, bravery and how our soldiers came forward to defend our motherland from an enemy which was 5 times our size, and the aggression with which it crossed the international border. It was marvelous, and how we witnessed lots of stories of how defying our motherland, how people were protected by the valiant soldiers of that time. So I would let Fahim also do the honors and tell us about how we said it.
Because the most interesting part that I find in the 1965 war is the spirit of valor, which was not just in the soldiers but in the entire nation, each and every citizen of Pakistan. Not just the citizens but also in the artist community. We saw different songs, we saw patriotism in the artist community, in the teachers community, in the student community, everyone. They were so united with each other that they have to fight the enemy no matter what.
That's very true, and like you mentioned, Fahim, that we didn't just witness the valor in the armed forces, it was also the people, the unarmed civilians and also the artists. So Madam Noor Jahan came forward and sang so beautiful songs that whenever we listen today, it reverberates across our soul. And with this in mind, we would also like to listen to this song which will further reverberate our patriotism, because it is very heartwarming to listen in the first place. So let's take a listen. And that's wonderful, and today marks, like we mentioned before, 8th of September. It is the Yom-e Behriya, and let's kickstart the conversation forward, because we really want to listen to the stories of how people came forward and they defended our seas in the first protection against the Indian aggression in the first way. Because we, and Fahim and I, belong to a generation, we haven't directly witnessed the war, but we keep hearing stories from our grandparents, from our nani and dadi, and how it was such a time of valor, where Fahim mentioned that there was a wave of patriotism that keeps reverberating across the country, and where people actually came forward and supported the entire country against the aggression. So without any further ado, we would like to introduce our guest, who happens to be Commodore Bilal Abdul Nasir Saab. He happens to be Sitara Imtiaz Military, and he also happens to be Director of NEMA, National Maritime Affairs. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam.
It's a pleasure having you, and not to forget, first of all, thank you for being one of the part of one of our tri-services. And it's, Hajra, I must say, and I must also tell our viewers how difficult it must be to be a part of that, to be in the sea for such long weeks and months, and even the submarines, because many of the people, they're claustrophobic, not to forget,
And
being
seasickness.
enclosed in a capsule for so
That's
long.
true. That's true.
And thank you, sir, for being a part of that. Thank you for saving us, for saving the citizens of Pakistan, keeping us safe from all kinds of enemies and all kinds of threats.
Right, and let's kick forward this conversation, sir. So why do we celebrate it? Can you relate us some of the tales that we really want to listen to as a generation who hasn't witnessed the war, but we keep hearing the stories about what happened back in 1965?
There were some operations back then. We would definitely like if
Yes,
you paint a
thank you.
picture there.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would thank you for inviting me to your show. As you mentioned about the spirit of valor, bravery and patriotism, yes, indeed, the people who fought the war and who were at the back of those people who were on the borders, these stories are incredible. The wars, the battles are fought, the wars are won, but there are few operations which change the destiny of the war, and they are recorded in the annals of history. The Varka operation, which is also known as the Operation Somnath, is one of those operations, such operations which were conducted by Pakistan Navy on 8th of September 1965. That had put the Indian Navy at the back foot, and they were totally bottled up in the harbors, and they could not take any action against Pakistan Navy or the borders of Pakistan, the coast of Pakistan. A navy which was twice the size of Pakistan Navy at that time, because Indian Navy was having 1 aircraft carrier, 2 cruisers and 19 major ships, the destroyers and frigates at that time, whereas Pakistan was having only 1 cruiser and 7 destroyers and frigates. But the edge at that time, but we might be talking about that also, the edge that we had was the availability of 1 submarine which we had recently acquired in 1964 from the United States.
I see.
PNSM Ghazi, the legendary PNSM Ghazi. You might have
Yes, yes, of
heard
course.
about the heroic actions, which unfortunately we lost in 1971 while it was carrying out operations off the coast of Visakhapatnam and laying mines, and it probably struck one of its own mines right there. So back in 1965, the situation was that the land forces were engaged in a fierce battle in the north, Kashmir as well as the plains of Punjab, and the entire focus of operation was towards the land operations. And the Indian Air Force, that was also concentrated mostly towards the north side.
Right.
While there were some threats of air attacks on Karachi as well towards the south, so these attacks which were directed towards Karachi and the southern part of Pakistan, they were being directed through the radar station at Dawarka, and also an HFDF station which was responsible for providing intelligence to the Indian Navy. So that was a biggest threat which need to be neutralized. So the Dawarka operation was directed towards that radar station and the military installations of the Dawarka.
And also, it's also known to be as Operation Somnath. Any particular reason why it's named so?
Yes, there was one mandir which was named Somnath over there, and that is why it was. Otherwise, it was not directed towards any religious,
Disposition in the first place.
disposition
That's very
at that
true.
time.
Yes.
But as far as the Dawarka operation is concerned, it was an incredible operation, which was carried out with meticulous planning and executed with immaculate accuracy. All the entire Pakistan fleet at that time, which comprised, as I said, 7 warships, major warships, 1 cruiser and 7 destroyers, 6 destroyers at that time. PNS Babar, PNS Alamgir, Shah Jahan, and Badr, Jahangir, Tipu Sultan, Tughril. These were the ships which took part in the Dwarka operation. These 7 ships were given a specific task beside the task of seafood defense and to protect our sea lines of communication, to carry out bombardment on Dwarka.
Right.
So these ships were out at sea right from 6th of September, and they were operating around an arc of 100 nautical miles from Karachi to provide the seaward defense.
Right.
On the evening of 7th of September, this task force, which was operating under the command of then Commander Pakistan Fleet, Commodore S.M. Anwar, was directed to proceed close to the Indian coast, as close as 5.5 nautical miles, which is around 10 kilometers,
Right.
and carry out bombardment, shore bombardment. This operation was supposed to be executed at midnight,
Right.
and the Pakistan Navy flotilla, they sneaked through the Indian surveillance undetected in the pitch darkness and in complete radio silence. The ship close to the Indian coast, as I mentioned, around 5.5 nautical miles, and in a span of only 4 minutes, each ship of that flotilla had fired 50 rounds of the main armament onto the important Indian installations on the coast. And this amounts to around 35,000 tons of ammunition.
That must have been quite a shock, I'm sure, and
yes.
that's why it's in the annals of history.
Yes.
And sir, definitely when we talk about the Navy Day, when we talk about the 1965 war, I'm sure the Friends of Pakistan also were there to help on the diplomatic front with the Pakistan Navy, because obviously a war was going on. And so could you tell us something about that too?
Yes, in fact, it's very important, as you have shown at the beginning of your program, what Chief of the Naval Staff was saying, that our international cooperation and collaboration is very important. At that time also, we were having some very good relations with our some of our close allies, and Air Marshal Asghar Khan, in his book, The First Round, he mentions about his visit to China and then later to Indonesia on 10th of September. And during his visit to Indonesia, he had met the President Sukarno and the then Chief of the Naval Staff of the Indonesian Navy. And he in fact mentioned to President Sukarno that we are in a dire need of your support. And the reply which was given by the President Sukarno is incredible. He said that your dire need, it is our dire need. And then he ordered to provide all-out support to Pakistan, and in the process, all the MiG-19s that the Indonesian had, and some of the MiG-15s were given to Pakistan. He ordered to give it to them, and then 2 submarines and 4 missile boats were also given to the Navy, although these arrived Pakistan because of the distance involved after the cessation of hostilities. But it was a great gesture by the Indonesians.
That's wonderful, and I think that also reiterates Pakistan's position as a country who would lead the Muslim Ummah, or a force for having this pan-Islamic values. But sir, now let's move on to another question. And I would like you to describe how the concept of security has changed since 1965 war and since the present day. So we were a very infant nation back in 1965 when we fought the war. We won it. There there were lots of sagas of heroism, the tales of bravery, and how people came and defended the country in the first place. But now move forward to 21st century, to 2023. How do you think the dynamics of the defense and security has changed? That too, especially when we are talking about protecting our sea lanes of communication in the first place, because previously there was a very conventional notion of the security of investing on our security means, but now it has evolved to incorporate the human security in the first place, right? So how do you see the way forward in terms of protecting and defending our motherland in the first place?
Everything in fact revolves around the human security. And the national security also entails that in every domain you have to secure the people of Pakistan, be it the economic front, be it the military front, or defending your borders,
Right.
Territorial integrity. So, with the advancement in technology, the older wars which were fought, hand to hand, or while you were in direct contact with the enemy, now there are some threats which are non-traditional in nature also, and these have to be taken care of. The cyber security aspect of it. You have talked about, since we are talking in the naval domain,
Right.
and there were few lessons learned through these wars that at least Pakistan has fought. For example, at that time, one of the tasks which was assigned to the Navy, beside the seaward defense and ensuring the territorial integrity, was the protection of our sea lines of communication, because Pakistan's trade, almost 95% of the trade by volume and 90% by value, is conducted through sea.
True.
And not many people know about this thing, but it is very important to protect our trade during the wartime as well as the peacetime. So, during the wartime, one such operation was in 1965 was also conducted by Pakistan Navy, and that was the escorting of one of the merchant vessels, Bagh-e-Karachi, from Aden to Karachi.
Right.
This ship was escorted because it was bringing some vital war supplies and support material for the sustenance of the war. So, it had to be escorted from Aden to Karachi, and it was done safely at that time. And another important aspect, since we are talking about the Dwarka operations, was the operation which was carried out by our submarine PNSM Ghazi, which was deployed timely off erstwhile Bombay, now Mumbai, and because of the presence and threat of that one submarine, the entire Indian Navy was bottled up in the harbors. Although their ships were all operational, and they were there on the western front, but they did not venture out because of the presence of Ghazi, and it did carry out one operation in which it had fired 4 torpedoes on a group of Indian ships, and one of those ship was damaged later on.
Also, sir, now as we're celebrating and observing the Navy Day today, right, we also talk about the modern day Navy, and we also know that Pakistan Navy, 1 or 2 or more submarines are always in the international waters. We're talking about regional collaborations these days, right? And also we hear the term often on blue economy, right? So, and now we also know that Pakistan Navy is getting into the economic frontiers as well, contributing in the economy of Pakistan, in the economy of the countries, all navies as a matter of fact. So, could you comment on the blue economy and Pakistan Navy in today's era?
Yes, in fact, wherever the trade goes, the Navy follows, because in order to ensure security of the ports and harbors and also your shipping, you need the Navy, support from the Navy. So, these go hand in glove with each other. And as far as you mentioned about the blue economy, it is in fact the economy which is carried out in a sustainable manner, while paying due regards to the environmental aspects of it.
Exactly. Right.
So, it has to be done in a sustainable manner. Just to give you an example, if you are carrying out fishing, you have to do it with due regards to the use of these resources for the future generation. Overfishing, for example, that has to be protection of certain species, and also overcatch, avoiding overcatch and all that. So that is where the Navy chips in, the Maritime Security Agency chips in, the other paramilitary forces, they chip in to ensure that the activities out at sea which are being conducted are done in a regulated manner and according to the rules and regulations.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for telling us and enlightening us about what happened back in 1965 war, and for celebrating Yom Behriya with us, because we are really, really proud of a people who are always on the sea lines or protecting our frontiers when it comes to sea. And it's not a very easy job, considering the fact that, you get a lot of seasickness, but you have to do it because there's this jazba or zeal inside you to protect your frontiers in the first place. And we once again pay tribute to all the martyrs there and all of the people who are serving in the uniform there to protecting our sea lines of communication in the first place. With that, we will head out towards a short break, and when we come back, so we have a very interesting conversation lined up, so don't go anywhere. Good morning.
Welcome back to World This Morning with Hajra Satbi and myself, Fahim Bangish. And as we told you, we have a very interesting discussion lined up after the break, and here we are. And Hajra, would you do the honors of introducing our guest?
Sure. But before we do that, I think we need to also let our audiences know that today is 8th of September. It also happens to be the World Literacy Day in the first place. And obviously, as a Pakistani, this is a topic that is very close to our hearts, and we need to have the discussion on this day, because literacy is something, or education is something that makes or breaks the nations, right? And as a Pakistanis, we've seen that there's a lot of improvement when it comes to literacy, but what needs to be done, how to tackle the issue of the literacy, and our conversation will be hinged around the concept of the single national curriculum, because I do feel that this is a remarkable achievement of our state, synthesizing all three schools of thoughts, be it the metric, FSC, or OA levels, and the religious madrasa education system, and in making it into a one stream of thought, so that the students when they graduate out of the school, they get the same opportunities in the first place when it comes to integrating them into the market. So without any further ado, we would also like to throw all of these questions to a very worthy guest here who have joined us and graced us with his presence. He happens to be the senior advisor of Allama Iqbal Open University. He also happens to be former joint secretary of the education. He's the pioneer of the single national curriculum. He has championed so many causes of the educational institutes, and also he happens to be the pioneer of the tele-school system, and a very remarkable achievement of our state, especially during the times of the corona, and is still going on, imparting the education on the television screens to people who do not have access to the schools in the first place. So without any further ado, we would like to introduce our guest, who happens to be Muhammad Rafiq Tahir Saab. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show,
Thank you
sir.
so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure having you, sir. Sir, before Hajra puts on any question, I would like to ask you, because this is something that's really close to my heart. Single national curriculum, right? And like Hajra also said, that this is something which had to be done, something really, really important. But we do see that there is a part of the community which is quite against it, when they say that when we are paying such exorbitant fee in the schools, why should my child study the same things, the same syllabus as someone who's studying in a government system? And that is a question which I personally cannot answer. So I thought I'd put forward this question to you and ask you, because you were the founder of it.
Thank you so much for inviting me specifically for the
It's an
most
honor, sir.
important event in the world today is the World Literacy Day. So, Literacy Day and the single national curriculum, yes, they are very much connected with each other. And but as the question is concerned, you see, you in your question you already mentioned that you are talking about some financial implication, the amount of fee.
Yeah.
If the high amount of fee, then why single national curriculum they have to teach in these schools? You see, basically, we are talking about a state, about Pakistan. In Pakistan, if we make a very short analysis, the 94% students belong to one community, which they need the single national curriculum. They need the excellent quality education, which is based, and quality education is based on the curriculum. Curriculum is the basic prerequisites.
True.
Then we have the textbooks, then we have the teachers, then we have the assessment. But the curriculum is the base for a quality education. So, while the 94% of student populations, they belongs to not that much higher or the elite schools. They belongs to this country, and they are the real country.
They're
And
the real
secondly,
country.
you see the around 2% or more than 2%, they belongs to the Dini Madaris. Again, they are the part of that 94. They goes to in that segment of the society.
True.
And remaining 1.7% maximum, the elite school. Yes, we are not against the elite school. We are not against that the quality education. Yes, that is there. But the basic curriculum, the state is responsible to provide the equal opportunities to each and every citizen. This the Constitution of Pakistan says.
Lovely.
So, very simple, the government priority will be provide the equal opportunities. Yes, even equal opportunities for everyone, but somebody they can afford better education and better things, then they can go for that. So,
Right.
there is no binding, but at least the one you see the level playing is available to every child of the country. But if somebody is affording, yes, they can go even abroad, they can have the best education in the very expensive schools, yes, they can go. But at least the student living in you see the coastal, he has the better opportunity like in the mathematics and the English language and the other subjects. But over and above that, yes, no bar, there is no binding on the in these schools. They can go beyond that, but at least minimum level is the same for all, which is the constitutional state responsibility. So this is
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for alluding to the point where you talked about the religious education or madrasa system in particular, right? So we've seen that the madrasa system, obviously a lot of students who cannot afford to go to these elite schools or maybe the government schools, so their parents send them to the madrasa system, and obviously they engage in a lot of theological debates there. But there was one criticism that is often heard at that system is that they're often working in silos, which means that they're not integrated with the modern sciences, or they're not integrated with the modern mathematics. And if you see the Muslim history, Jabir bin Hayyan, all of these great names, they were doing it not in silos, you know, so there's ilm or their sciences sprouted from the Quran and Hadith in the first place, right? So do you think with the SNCs you will be better able to integrate them into the system, or do you feel that there's a resistance still coming from these madrasa system into mainstreaming into main education?
Yeah.
Because their opportunities is mostly becoming Qari Saab, they're not integrated into the market, they do not have very good opportunities of earning a respectable livelihood in the first place. What do you have to say?
It's a very important question, because there are certain misconceptions about the madaris and
Yes,
madaris education.
That's
Because I have the opportunity to work with the madaris,
Okay.
being a first DG for the religious education of Pakistan, I was there. You see, madaris are contributing a lot in education sector of Pakistan.
Okay.
A segment of the society which is totally deprived, marginalized, have no opportunity for education because their parent cannot afford even the food, even nothing like anything which is basic need of the human being. So these boys and the girls no, they are catered by the Dini Madaris.
Right. Sure.
This is the one thing.
True.
Second, what they are taught in the Madaris, that is the
Right.
big question.
Right.
So, I would like to share with this audience and with you people
Please go ahead.
that Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Almighty, in 2020,
Right.
there is a agreement, first ever agreement during the 75 year of Pakistan is signed between Dini Madaris of Pakistan, which is known as Wafaq al Madaris,
Yes.
5 Wafaq al Madaris, and the Ministry of Education. And Alhamdulillah, this I'll proudly I can say
Right.
that agreement was designed, finalized in my office, and finally it was signed in the Ministry of Education. And in that first ever agreement, it is categorically mentioned that the student of Madaris now will be able to have access to the single national curriculum. They will be taught single national curriculum along with the religious education in the Madaris.
Right.
And I would like to share this also with you that around 11,000 Madaris of Pakistan,
Right.
now they are registered with the Ministry of Education, first time in the history. And now they are functioning as a normal school. Yes, they are religious, their religious education is there, but they are not taught by their teachers as a mathematics, as a computer, as
Right.
a English language, and some other subject also. So this is now finally integrated in the Dini Madaris, that the contemporary education must be the part of that. Now, and not only these two, religious education, contemporary education, plus the technical and vocational education is the part of now Dini Madaris. Now they are producing some skill worker also. So this thing initiated now in the country, and I hope so with the passage of time you will see there will be a big sea change in the Madaris education of Pakistan.
And going on with the conversation of the religious
Right.
seminaries and Madaris, there are some official seminaries or Madaris, there are some unofficial seminaries and Madaris. Like,
Right.
for example, there are children in a local mosque in a local village, right?
Right.
So what about though? Have they also been integrated with the Ministry of Education?
You see, what we define the Dini Madrasa, the religious school is which have the facility of the residents. They are living in the premises of the Madaris. One, they are formal, giving the 8 years the Darse-e-Nizami
years, yes.
program. Yes, but what you are talking about, they are basically the simple Nazara Quran sort of things.
Right.
Or that is available in the local community, easy access. They go and just read the Holy Quran, and Nazara Quran facilities available. But they are not the formal Madaris. They are just so very simple, you can say a maktab school, a
Right.
very small masjid maktab school like that. So, but they are not included in the Madaris. But in some of the this sort of the maktab school and the masjid school, no, they have also introduced this very, you see, it is known as some very short course available. In 3 years they can complete the primary education along with the Nazara Quran and other religious education. So that is
Lovely.
available, and that is formally approved by the National Curriculum Council, that
Right.
the short course available now, and they are being taught in the schools for this. So, but the formal Dini Madaris, no, they are very much on board on the contemporary education, the single national curriculum, and these modern subjects are available in all the Madaris, Alhamdulillah, at the moment.
And that's a lovely and remarkable achievement, I would say, of
True.
our state, and making sure that there's one stream of thought, one stream of school and opportunities which are available to the students out there, and especially when they come out or graduate from their school or colleges and universities, they're better integrated into the society. So, sir, on this World Literacy Day, what sort of conversations do we need to have? Where do we stand as of now? And someone who has dealt, as of your stature, who has dealt with the education, you have been on such a higher post, where do you think we are heading as a nation in the first place?
Your question is a very pertinent, but
Heavily
answer
loaded.
is not very, you see, it's maybe some disappointing things, unfortunately.
Sure, we need to go and self.
In the field of literacy, when we just started this country, 1947, in 1951, I have just seen that the literacy rate of Pakistan was 18.64%. and as today it is 60%. And the progress made in the region is excellent. With, if we make the comparison with the Pakistan, is a very good. But unfortunately, what we have to achieve, which was you see the basic necessity for this country to achieve in the field of literacy, that we have not achieved yet.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we say we are the Muslim. It is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. This is our first sentence of the Constitution. And Islamic Republic of Pakistan have the main source of inspiration and the guideline is the holy book of Holy Quran.
True.
And the first verse of the Holy Quran is Iqra,
Yes.
to read. And you see, it means the most obligation on us. What we talk about the other nation of the world? No. Because the Almighty Allah asked the Prophet, may peace be upon him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that Iqra, pad. So this is the most big obligation for the Muslim, that they have to concentrate on the reading and the writing and the literacy. But unfortunately, we are the far behind now. If you say, if after Quran we say the international and the national document, the Universal Declaration 1948, its article I think 26 or 27, categorically say that the literacy is the basic and the fundamental right of all the human being. Fundamental basic right. But if we see our literacy rate at the moment 60%, it means we are not following that Universal Declaration. Let's leave. We see our constitutions. Constitution of Pakistan categorically, or Article 37 says that the literacy is the basic right of the all Pakistanis, irrespective of their religion or anything else. So, and even you can say, you can see it, the other international commitment like SDG 4.
Right.
We have committed in the United Nations. Our then Prime Minister signed a document. You see SDGs document.
True.
That by 2030 all youth of Pakistan 100% literacy will be achieved in the country. But I am saying that it is almost impossible, because it's a 2023, 7 years we have more, but no big program is in the country. Literacy is the most important, but our journey towards the literacy and to achieving the target of literacy is a very, very pathetic, very unfortunate. At the moment, you see, I will just mention 2 points more.
True.
One, before 18th Amendment, it was some national responsibility, the federal government. And we have an act, Literacy Act 1987.
Right.
According to that, so the federal government will move, will design, plan so many programs with the consultation of the provinces and launch throughout the country.
Right.
I hope you will be the familiar. I can mention so many programs we have launched in this country, but 2-3 is most important. Like one was the Talim-e-Balagha.
Yes.
So that was one of the literacy program in this country.
True.
And another was the LAMIC, Literacy, Mass and Education Commission. And in that big program, it's a huge big program launched by the Ministry of Education before 18th Amendment. And we have under this program, we have the Nai Roshni School. But what happened? Unfortunately, we have very good planning at that time, but implementation was, I cannot use that word, but it was very pathetic.
Right, and also, sir, when we talk about education and when we talk about the primary education in particular in Pakistan, we do see that there is a lack of that the teaching is basically what's the most important for a primary school child, right? Are the teachers given proper training, especially when it comes to critical thinking and out-of-the-box thinking? Because you have to instill these things from the initial classes so that they become a part of your personality when you go towards your higher studies, towards your university studies, so that you can at least analyze what you're studying rather than just rote learning.
Yeah. Before I answer to your question, one of the delegation of Pakistan, and I was fortunately leading that delegation, we are in in USA, Washington DC, for 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
It was a training program, and I was there, and some teacher and the head teacher from Pakistan, all over the country, they're the part of that. And we are visiting one of the very old school of Washington DC. And because I have some interest in the early childhood development and early childhood education,
Wonderful.
because I was the national focal point for the early childhood education from the Ministry of Education around 10-15 years in this country.
I see.
So I have a lot of things. You see up there recently, some of your guests, this Khatija Khan, and they all are the,
Wonderful.
you see, part of my team at that time.
Wonderful.
So my priority was normally to see that what is happening in the early grade teachings, early grades, how they are teaching, what is the methodology. I asked a very, you see, not the normal question, but it's not abnormal, but it's not the normal. I asked the teacher, how much salary you are drawing from your school?
Right.
What he told that, Mr. Rafiq, very simple, I am drawing more than a university professor.
Okay.
More than a university professor.
They are investing a lot. So,
So
Yes.
it means
Yes.
that the early grade teaching, early classes, and plus the primary education need the best of the best teacher, one,
True.
best of the best curricula, two, best of the best textbooks, best of the best teaching methodologies.
That's
And for that purpose, the teacher is a pivot. If they are not very good trained, they cannot develop these critical thinking and
True.
21st century skills, blah, blah, so many things we can say. But alhamdulillah, I just very briefly mentioned that this new curricula, single national curriculum of the country, we focused on the quality education, 4 aspects of quality education. The curriculum, critical thinking is now the part and the parcel of the single national curriculum. I will just ask you people sometime, if you have a time, just go to the website of the ministry and see how we have incorporated the critical thinking in our curriculum.
Sir, I'm really sorry I have to interject here, but if you could wrap it up, because we are really short on time, in one line. So what message would you like to give on this World Literacy Day that's too concerning with the context of Pakistan?
With reference to the Literacy Day, I have, and this I have presented then the Prime Minister of the country, we need to announce the literacy emergency program in this country.
That's very true.
One.
Very true.
Secondly, that literacy emergency program must be led by the Prime Minister of the country
That's
and
true.
the Chief Minister of the provinces.
That's very true.
And thirdly, that should not be only a big program, we must afford very good funding for that. We have to specify a budget for that.
True.
And the last, if we do all these things, you can see the economic progress in the country will be, you see, there will be a sea change in that economic
That's
progress.
very true,
in
because
the
they're all interlinked in the first place. And
True.
thank you so much, sir, for coming here, for having this wonderful
It's an honor
cross-pollination
having you. It's a
of the
pleasure
ideas.
having you today.
And
Yes.
with that, we would like to wrap up our segment because we're really short on time. So until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good
Good morning.
morning.